And welcome back to the Flow Sports Fix on this Monday evening. It's time to talk basketball. We haven't done it for a while, but it is about time because there are some crucial things happening. But before we talk about what's going on way up north, we need to know about what's going on down south. And I've got our esteemed basketball guru, Dan Crouch, on the line. Dan, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you, Clayton. I've just been enjoying the NBA playoffs myself, so can't complain with that sort of a Monday.
Yes, there have been some exciting games going on. I must admit, watching a few of them over the weekend. But anyway, before we get to them, I need to know about our beloved Adelaide 36ers. Last time we spoke, Dan, which was a while ago, we were a bit of confidence that the 36ers were on a good roll. They were heading towards playoffs, but they've just dropped 6 in a row. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe it's time that they just hang up the boots and forget about this season.
Yeah, they started the season pretty well. They got quite a few early wins on the board, but I think there was always a level of pessimism in the NBL media that they were going to fall off eventually, and unfortunately that's what's happened. They're now 13 wins and 22 losses on the season, but it was good to see them get some close wins early on. It looks like finals are out of the equation now, but sitting 7th out of 9th on the table, not a bad result. I think there were a lot of people who had them pegged to finish either 9th or 8th, so you could say they've exceeded expectations. And obviously, Josh Giddey has wrapped up his playing obligations with the 36ers now. They've put him on ice so that he doesn't get hurt before he enters the NBA next season, later this year. Bit of an up and down season for the Sixers, but it looks like it's going to end with them missing out on finals. But in my opinion, that's not a total failure of a season, and it's certainly something to build on for next year.
Well, let's hope so. All right, well, we'll talk more about the NBL later on when we get right onto the finals and all that and into the playoffs. But right now, I need to talk about the NBA because we've already got the finals, the playoffs already going. One team is already being eliminated, and I'm quite happy to see that they're gone. The Miami Heat already, Dan.
Yes, the Miami Heat. They've been swept by the Bucks, who they actually beat last year in the, I believe, the conference finals to advance to the finals. And the conversation about the Heat has all been focused about, was last year just a fluke because they were playing in that Disneyland bubble with no fans, and maybe they just fluked it. They got a bit of irrational confidence into some of their youngsters, and they just couldn't quite replicate it this year, or they couldn't even go close to replicating it, in fact. But nevertheless, they're on holidays now, and you know, Jimmy Butler's an absolute workhorse. He'll be back better next season, you would assume. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, huge step forward for them. They've fallen in the last couple of playoffs, so for them to completely dominate the opponent that beat them last year, that's a huge step forward for them. But it's only the first round, and they've got 12 more wins to go if they want to win that championship.
Well, that's in the Eastern Conference. The other matchups that we've got at the moment, we've got Philadelphia and Washington. Philly's leading 3-0 at the moment. The Knicks look like they could be going out to Atlanta 3-1. And the Brooklyn Nets over the Boston Celtics at the moment with a good 3-1 handy lead. How do you see all those sort of series playing out?
I'd be shocked if Washington managed to avoid the sweep against Philadelphia. That's just a huge mismatch there. Washington don't have the defensive capabilities to shut down Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons is playing the best playoff basketball of his career, which is great to see. Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, they've just got so many weapons there in Philly. Brooklyn, again, I'm surprised they didn't manage to get the sweep over Boston. They are absolutely stacked, obviously, with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, not to mention Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, and the rest of their roster. But that 50-point game in Game 3 from Jason Tatum to give them a glimmer of hope at that point in the series was really, really special. But unfortunately, that will be the highlight of the playoffs for Boston. And in that other series,
Atlanta and the Knicks. Yeah.
Yes, that's the intriguing one. The Hawks have got the 3-1 lead. But I don't think that series is over just yet. The Knicks are a talented team, and they just haven't quite figured it out in the playoffs yet.
Well,
Julius Randle,
better do it in a hurry.
Yeah, well, that's it. They better get a wriggle on. But yeah, Julius Randle, terrible first playoffs for him, unfortunately. So let's hope he can improve for the rest of the series and they can put up a bit of fight. But that's been an entertaining series, and Trae Young from the Hawks has just been outstanding in his first playoffs, and I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the way.
Going across to the Western Conference, the Jazz is leading Memphis. Got the Clippers and Dallas. Dallas leading that one at the moment. Denver and Portland are tied up. And so is Phoenix and the Lakers. Is there some doubt that the Lakers can go much further? LeBron must be sweating a bit.
Yeah, well, the Lakers obviously winning the championship last year and having the short off-season. I think they only had 71 days between their championship-winning game and opening night of the new season. So as a result, they had some injuries this year. They dropped down the standings, and Phoenix and the Lakers probably should be playing in a second round or conference finals, but here we are in the first round as a 2v7 matchup. So that one's been interesting, and now Anthony Davis is injured. It definitely puts a bit of doubt in the Lakers camp. Phoenix got the win this morning to get back home court for the last 3 games. So really interested to see how that one shapes out. I think the Lakers are going to get it done because I've learned never bet against LeBron. He proves you wrong, year after year. So I'm picking the Lakers there. The Clippers-Mavericks is a really interesting series too. Mavericks winning both the games in LA at the start of the series was a real surprise, and Luka Doncic, the young prodigy, he's just a superstar, and he's better than advertised. He has been absolutely unstoppable. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for the Clippers are playing out of their minds, and they're still struggling to win. So, yeah, really, really interested to see how that one shapes up, and it could well be the 2 LA teams playing in the conference finals.
Oh, you think that might happen, do you?
It's definitely possible. But, the other 2 series, every team alive in the West still is just really, really talented. And, even Memphis, that they had to win their play-in game just to make the playoffs. They're playing against the 1 seed, Utah, and they managed to steal a win early in the series, and they've looked competitive in the other games as well. So I don't think it's time to write them off just yet, even as a potential upset there. But Utah, their defense is unbelievable, and they're going to be really hard to beat. But yeah, just some really good matchups out in the West. Obviously, I haven't mentioned Portland and Denver either. 2-2, which we saw them have a completely crazy series, I think the year before last, where they played a 4 overtime game. And yeah, they've got a good little rivalry brewing between the 2 small market teams there. So it'll be really interesting to see who prevails there. But I'm backing the soon-to-be crowned MVP, Nikola Jokic, and the Nuggets to win that one.
Okay. Well, who do you see being in the NBA championship final? I'm fancying Brooklyn to go right to the final. Who do you see will be up against them?
Yeah, I agree. I think Brooklyn are going to get through. Of course, Milwaukee and Philadelphia are going to be really tough, but I think there's just too much talent on that Brooklyn team. You got 3 of the best 5 or 6 offensive players in the whole league there. How do you stop that? And over in the West, like I said, I've learned not to bet against LeBron James, so I think it's going to be the Lakers, and I think we're going to get yet another installment of LeBron James versus Kevin Durant in the finals, and yet again, Kevin Durant's going to have the far superior supporting cast, so just like in those Cleveland versus Golden State days. So I really hope it does shape out that way, because to see that much talent in one final series would be almost unprecedented, and yeah, it would just be a fantastic matchup. And LeBron James in year 17 or year 18, whatever he's in now, to still be doing what he's doing, it's going to be fantastic to watch if he can do it yet again in the finals.
If LA can get it through and it becomes an LA Brooklyn Nets NBA championship final, it'll be one to see and one not to miss. And I'm sort of hoping that we might get basketball TV on here and Flow so we can actually watch it, because those games are just going to be absolutely riveting, and I totally agree with you. I think it'll be absolutely outstanding. So let's hope it gets that way, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that in the weeks ahead, Dan.
Yes, I hope so, because trust me, I'll be glued to the TV every spare minute I have watching these playoffs, because so far they've just been an absolute treat, and they're only going to get better as we get closer to the finals.
They certainly will. All right, Dan, we'll leave it there. Thank you for spending some time with us and going through all the NBA current bracket finals at the moment. We'll talk more about the NBL too in the coming weeks as we get closer to the finals. But thank you so much for joining us on the Flow Sports Fix today.
No worries, Clayton. Thanks for having me.